It's 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday, the 24th, 24th September, 9th month of 2025. That's often the hardest one to get right. So anyway, folks, good morning. It's a lovely morning here. Lovely morning. Grand. Some people say there was a touch of frost. You hear people saying that, but there's no frost around here that I can see. But it's dropped maybe, I'd say, to maybe 4 degrees centigrade probably. Anyway, watch this video through to the end. This is farming, F-A-R-M-I-N-G, farming and country pursuits and stuff like that. Now prices for livestock and particularly cattle are very good at the moment. Very good prices. Was talk of a slight cutback last week, but no, they're still good. They'll pay for what you have, and good. I saw a cow in the mart last Thursday making 3-4, a big Shirley cow, about 4-year-old cow, big Shirley cow. That's what they want. Now, why is this happening? Well, a number of reasons are given. One is that the Scottish producers have cut back. They just got so sick of regulation that they cut back. English producers, something similar. And in Ireland, there is a scarcity of cattle as well. And I can tell you that running a suckler herd is not an easy task. You just can't let them off there. Particularly calving, and particularly if you're using continental bulls or AI bulls or whatever you have, you will have difficulty calving and you'll have a lot loss. And I'm mostly around all the time because of my ostensible, as you use the word, retirement, or as my semi-retirement, however you call it. But many people can't do that. Many people have to keep jobs. If you're a bus driver, you have to leave your farm, go in and drive that bus to Dublin or to Athlone or wherever and back again, maybe 4 times that day or 3 times. So there are other jobs. I just mentioned that in passing. So that's the trouble. There's a shortage of cattle. The other thing is there's a good demand for beef in the UK, and they may find ways around that by importing South American beef, and they're actually working on that at the moment. And I think myself the Ukraine war may have something to do with it. What are the Ukraine soldiers eating? So they have to be eating something. And I'd say it's beef. I'd say it's dried and beef jerky and all kinds of beef products, I'd say. Anyway, that's only my guess. There would be bacon, of course, as well. Now, if you're selling cattle, you'll get a good price. And I saw an article in the Irish Independent farming section the other day that the money shouldn't be spent. Farmers should not go out and throw it all around them. Keep it, because it may not last. It may not last. Keep it. And then the bills come in and they have to be paid. Now, one thing I have from the auctioneering profession on good information is that nowadays you can bid for cattle online as well as by going to the mart. And this works very well. It's amazing it wasn't out before this, but you could actually have 2 mobile phones or 3 and be attending 3 marts at home sitting at the fire. And I knew quite an elderly man who passed away recently, and he used to buy online for his family and for his sons. So they tell me that the best time to sell your cattle is dinner hour. You could have them in at 25 to 2. Because the fellas that have farms are working and they're on the meal break, they have the lunch bag. And they put on the phone and they can see the cattle coming in. And if your base comes in that you're selling your store bullock or whatever, I'll buy that, and they can bid. Whereas when they go back to work and they're driving the forklift, they can't. So just a little idea how you'd work that is a mystery. I don't know. It wouldn't be easy to do that. But anyway, I'm only telling you what a very experienced auctioneer of livestock told me a year ago. Now, so that's that. Now, there's a little late silage being cut now. Some of it seems to be good enough. But cattle that's on grass, you have to take into account the danger of grass tetany. I think it's a lack of magnesium, isn't it? No, that's the cat. It's a lack of magnesium, isn't it? I think it is. But anyway, to say too that land that got P and K, that when you put on phosphate and potash, that it affects the magnesium levels. Now, I don't know. I'm holding my hand up. I'm only saying what I hear. But anyway, it's a bit of a danger. Now, the blocks, the buckets on the mineral blocks are a good idea. They do no harm and they will lick them. And I must get a couple. Mine's all gone. But a good idea is give them a bale. Do not assume because cattle are out on grass that they're getting enough grass this time of year, no matter where they are. Now, they say that aftergrass is more short in magnesium, that's the cat, in magnesium than normal grass, so just be aware of that. Anyway, throwing them out of bale. I'm throwing out a bale now for almost a week, and they're eating it, no doubt about it. Put in a roundy feeder and let them chew away. It might mean the difference between a sick animal and not. So that's that. Now, I want them to move to oh yeah, of course there'll be dosing and all sorts of stuff, and I've done a few videos on dosing, and there's great brags of the pour-on stuff. If you're using it, what I do get is I get a syringe, a good big one for injecting cattle, a big red one, and file off the top of it, grind off the sharp top, and I leave it that you can run it across the base back so it goes down right on the skin. It's not dripping off the hair. Some people shave the hair, but that's another day's work. No? But just get the syringe, put your dose into it, and push it down along their back, and then up along their head. And when they find that kind of scratch on them, they'll go quieter. And if you do the back first, and then reload it or whatever to the right amount, you can tip it up on the butt of the head as well, and you have your base done front and back. Of course, you need them in the chute, unless they're very quiet. Is that all right? So that's the thing if you're doing that. But I'm not doing. I did mind letting them out, and I'll wait till I put them in and rehouse. And I'm sure most farmers will know better than I do when the best time to do it. So enough of that talk. Now there is one other thing I want to come to, and that is drainage. This idea that if you cut a drain 27 inches deep with a narrow bucket and put in a bit of gravel, put in a pipe, put in more gravel and shut it up, that's a lifetime job. Even the Farmer's Journal a few years ago, let's just see the sun here, a few years ago said they will eventually close. And I have examined drains, I said that I put in myself, and other farmers have examined drains, and they do close. The pipe inside, the 2.5 inch pipe usually, it closes up with muck. The muck will come in through the stone in little pieces and fill the pipe. The other thing is the big heavy machinery is not helping that situation either. So the article I read in the Farmer's Journal said you should renew drains every 19 years. Here, I think they said you cut them fresh. Well, I don't know. You're putting in extra gravel. I'm not too sure. I'd like to have my land done if I drain it and be done with it. But I'm coming to one very important point. Most of the land in Ireland has handmade drains. Somebody dug them long ago. Whoever it was, their head is not annoying them now. In my case, they're here. I'd say it was ancestors, or maybe somebody here before me, but they dug drains and they knew how to dig drains. Now, field drains, I think is what they call them. I was just looking for something here. But they're generally speaking about the size of like a big goose egg. They're that shape. They're about 19 inches high, and they're about 9 to 10 inches wide. They're oval shaped, and generally fairly good oval, you know, like that. So they're about I've looked around to see what would best represent the size of them, of the drains, and this is the best. This is out from the store. They're roughly, like, if you look on that side, they're about that size, and it'd be probably upside down. They're more or less this shape, you know. They're like that, kind of. See that? That's how big they are, and they're filled with stone, and they never cave in, and they run perfectly. Now the size of the stone are about this size, like cobblestones, and these come from a quarry over in Oldcastle millions of years ago. They say Ireland was in two halves, the top and the bottom, and there was the sea over around Athlone, in a stripe of land from Athlone coming up into Westmeath and towards Oldcastle. And that the stone is, you see this stone here now, this stone is broke. See the way it has the sharp edges, and then it has a round edge. Now I often wonder, where do they get the cobblestones for Dublin? Where are all the cobblestones come from? There must have been a quarry somewhere long ago. And in my old house here, there's still a cobbled footpath. So where do they get them? And some of them are hard stones. And even London, all cobblestones. I mean, it was an unbelievable way of doing a street. But anyway, this one that's broke. So the size of them are generally no smaller than these, that vary a little from this size. You get them a bit bigger and a bit smaller, but they're usually round stone. Now you just think of it, maybe 150 to 200 to 300 years ago, somebody was able to acquire or get round stone, the shape of goose eggs, and put them in these drains. Now not all of the stone, they do have other stone in there as well. And usually the top part of the drain, when you cut it, it's dry at the top, it's only at the bottom it's wet. Now here's the point. When you're draining, if you're ever draining and you come across those field drains, recognize exactly what they are. Recognize exactly what they are. They are 100% active, good drains. The best you could design in Irish conditions, and I'm sure in Scottish and British conditions. If you're draining land or digging a hole and you come across one, you must identify it, and it has to be treated specially. You have to make sure that even if the modern field drain goes through it, or any pipe goes through it, that the drain is reinstated the way it was. By putting in marley clay is the best. Generally speaking, in my country, down the bottom it gets a bit marley, a kind of sticky clay, grey, blue jig sort of stuff some places. Sometimes it's just hard clay. And it goes up then to good clay up at the top. It's the most ingenious thing. And the water gets into them. But the thing is, they usually run down then into a drain. You'll see them coming into a shuck or a drain. Now, make sure you reinstate them, that the water coming down the old drain can get across and get on its way. Do not block it. If you block it, you'll have a bubble up in that spot. And that's a serious mistake. A serious mistake, okay? Now, I'm on 12 minutes there. So how do you do that? Well, if you have to go to a quarry with a round stone and get a trailer load of it and get it, don't just stick in any old stone. Because what happens with the like of this flat stone here, it'll meet another flat stone. And if it meets like that, it'll seal between it. Do you understand? It'll seal. But this type of thing, it can't seal. Do you see? Now, I have an old steel barrel there for catching rainwater at the old house. And it regularly springs leaks, like pinholes, and they always seal. The water will seal a hole, even rainwater. If you have a tiny hole in a container and you leave it there, eventually it'll seal. Don't ask me how. I think it's what happens is the steel rusts slightly and seals the hole. So just to run over that with you again, putting in square stone has the risk of the You see that I have nothing here that's square, but I use my hand anyway, I'm sure you accept. This situation here will seal up. Where will the water get through? Whereas this situation here can't seal up. Do you see? See the thing? It can't seal, do you see? Because it's round. There were no fools. The old people were no fools. So, when you see that, try not to go down below the level of the field drain if you can, but put your other drain in if you need to do it. Put it in okay, but make sure you round stone round it so that the water still can go. The water has a choice. And in 10 years' time, those of us that's alive, the modern drain may seal. Now, several farmers have told me that. And I was talking to a good farmer the other day who said, I was talking to him about that, and he said, that's right. He says, it was his uncle had the farm, and I opened the drains at the end to see, and they're all just full of clay, full of clay, completely filled up. So if the old field drain is there, make very sure you leave the field drain working, fully done, not any old way, If you can get these, or go to whatever crowd does them, and get them all about that size and reinstate them, or save them when you take it out with the digger. I've known a few farms that were ruined when they took in a contractor, bull on, get the thing done, get the money and go, and they took no heed of that, and they do bubble up. The other thing is that the heavy slurry tanks are not helping the job either. They do tend to drive it down. Now, another thing I have found, I'm rooting at draining since I was a child, and I made a drain just down there when I was a wee lad, and it's still running good enough. But there's a spot down there where I made a cache, or a place to get in and out with tractors into the yard when I built the new shed. And I opened a drain, a new drain, and there was no old drain. Some of these fields here have stone caches, they have stone bridges, like where you go for the gaps. Some of them have. And but if they're really done well, you'll nearly see through them. Some of them aren't. Some of them just filled them up with stone. And I usually put in concrete pipes, a minimum of 12 inches in diameter, and they work very, very well. And the level of these move too. When you go across them, it drives them down a bit. So that's the thing. So in this particular cache, anyway, didn't I put in a good big pipe? I think it was a 4-inch drainage pipe, land drainage plastic pipe, and I stoned a little under it and stoned over it and all, but the bottom line is the water does not go down. You see, if you think of it, you take the River Shannon, if you take the River Boyne, the River Blackwater, or the River Glide, they call my river up here the Lagan, but it's actually the Glide, but I don't know how a river can have two names. But in any event, and if you take a river, if it could go down through the soil, it would. Why would a river in summertime, in good dry weather, in late July, good weather like we had this year, why would the water continue to flow all the way to the sea when it can get down onto the ground and make it down to the water table and escape? There are instances in Ireland and abroad where rivers do disappear underground, but that's because there are fissures, there are natural caves underground. And there's a place over at 4, is it Lochmeen, Lochmacneen, or no, it's over at 4, I won't remember the name, but the lake, the water of the lake goes down in the lake underneath and comes up through just at the monastery in 4, and if you look at the sand clay around it, it's limestone, so there are limestone little caves, and the water obviously goes down and comes up at the other end. And that can happen, but that's rare and generally only happens in limestone country. It doesn't happen normally. So I make the point again, if a river could, in dry weather, especially the medium-sized rivers, like even the Kinney Pottle in Cavan, or the Glide, as I say here, or the early parts of the Fane, if it could go down through the ground, it would. And it'd make it off. So in dry weather, there'd be nothing in the river. That does not happen. And that's the same principle, in my humble opinion. I'm not qualified in this, but that's what I've observed. That's the same thing with your field drain and your other drains. When the water lands after a year or two, when it lands on the top of the field, why should it go down into the drain? Isn't it more natural for it to run on down the field, down to the end, and go into the drain at the end? Then that's how the rivers are kept going. Okay, there is underground water. Oh, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. And generally speaking, springs and that are near a river. They're always above the level of the river. If they're below the level of the river, you wouldn't see them. The water would flow the other way. Do you understand? So anyway, enough of that said. But the main point from what I'm saying is, I don't think it's possible to effectively drain land in the long term. They'll close up no matter what you do. I think that is the case. I think that's the case. Secondly, the old field drains were a different thing altogether. As I say, they were a cavity. They were a cavity all about at least sideways. You see the way you're looking sideways at that? See that there? You know, they were a cavity. And they were big. And they formed a sort of a hard core around it. How they did it is a mystery. And the top clay had a big area to go down. and they did go down. And sometimes they use them to drain off wet areas or small springs, and they run forever. Now I dug a well. There was a well up there, a few fields over there, and I wanted to see what the source of it was. And I got the digger and I dug it up, and I dug it about, it says 60 meters, maybe 50 meters, and there was just stones like that right across, all that way. They were all put that way, and the water was running underneath in hard clay down underneath and coming out of the bottom. I dug it up and I put a pipe in it. In fact, I just was a curiosity to find out. I could have actually maybe did it differently, but I put a Unidair pipe, and that's the way I can go up now and get me water anytime I want. And I think the Unidair pipe will probably last forever. And I did a video on it at the time. I don't know where it has gone, where I allowed the water to get in and covered it up underground, put in a well liner. So using water, working with water is very important, but you don't assume. You have to think it through like that. Okay, that's 21 minutes. I think the main thing I want to come from this video, folks, is for farmers and landowners to be aware of the field drain. Do not let a lad in with a digger to dig away and throw all down and say that's it done. The field drain is there maybe 200 years. The drain you put in will last 19 years at the very best, according to the Farmer's Journal article I read. And why close the field drain? Why close the old drain, the old big drain with the round stones in it? And if you can get round stone for drainage, and I did a field up there recently, about a 2.5 acre field, it might be 2-3 acres, and it was never ploughed. And I got all of this. I got all of this from the quarry in Oldcastle, and I drained it completely with that stone, and it wasn't that expensive. And it's really good job. Right, folks, we let you go on that. I hope I've got through a bit of stuff there on the farming scene. It's great. I know it's a good morning. I mind you, my windmills are not going round. Not doing much good. Right, we'll see you back so soon, and like and subscribe. We do an odd farming one now and again. It's a variety kind of a channel. Bye bye. Thank you.